In May 1980, Dorothy Jane Scott disappeared from a hospital parking lot in Southern California, and her case still feels deeply wrong. She was a 32-year-old mother from Anaheim who worked hard, stayed close to her family, and was known as careful and kind. Her relatives said she was dependable, and they never believed she would willingly leave her child or vanish without warning. Long before she disappeared, her family said an unknown man had been calling her for months with messages that swung between obsession and threats. He sometimes told her he loved her, and other times he promised that he would hurt or kill her. The calls scared her so badly that people around her noticed she had become nervous, guarded, and afraid of being alone after dark. Her father even helped her with rides at times because she no longer felt safe moving around by herself. One day, she reportedly found a dead rose on her car, along with a note that seemed to come from the same person who kept haunting her. On the night of May 28th, one of Dorothy's coworkers suddenly looked sick, and people thought he might have been bitten by a spider. Dorothy drove him and another coworker to UC Irvine Medical Center, and they waited together while he received treatment. Near the end of the visit, Dorothy offered to bring her car around to the front so the others would not have to walk farther. A few minutes later, her coworkers saw Dorothy's white station wagon racing straight toward them with the headlights glaring. They expected her to stop, but the car sped past them at high speed and vanished out of the parking lot. The two coworkers stood there confused because they believed Dorothy was the one behind the wheel. She never came back for them, and nobody could explain why she would suddenly flee without a word. The next morning, police found her car burning in an alley in Santa Ana, about 10 miles from the hospital. The fire destroyed possible clues, and Dorothy herself was nowhere near the vehicle when officers arrived. From that moment on, the case turned into something much darker than a simple missing person report. A week after she vanished, Dorothy's mother received a phone call from a man asking for her daughter by name. According to the family, the caller sounded calm, almost casual, which somehow made the call even more frightening. He kept calling over and over for years, usually asking whether Dorothy was home before quickly hanging up. In some reports, he also said that he had killed her. Family members said the caller seemed to know when Dorothy's father was not there, which made the harassment feel targeted and deliberate. Police tried to trace the calls, but the man was careful, brief, and always seemed to stay one step ahead. Investigators looked at people Dorothy knew, and they tried to connect the calls, the hospital, and the burned car, but nothing stuck. What made the case especially chilling was that the caller appeared to know intimate details about her life, yet remained completely invisible. After newspapers covered the disappearance, a man called one newsroom and mentioned that a coworker had been treated for a possible spider bite. That detail had not been widely shared, so detectives had to consider that the caller might truly be tied to the crime. Even with that eerie lead, authorities never gathered enough proof to publicly identify a killer or make an arrest. Then, in August 1984, workers found partial human remains in Santa Ana Canyon, not far from where Dorothy had disappeared. Dental records confirmed that the remains were hers, and the discovery ended one mystery while opening several worse ones. Because so much time had passed, investigators could not clearly determine how she died or exactly where she had been killed. The anonymous calls reportedly stopped after her remains were identified, which only made the unseen caller seem even more important. To this day, nobody has been charged with Dorothy Jane Scott's murder, and the person who terrorized her has never been publicly identified. Her case remains one of those investigations that feels painfully close to an answer, yet never fully gets there. A frightened young mother asked for safety in all the quiet ways people do, and somehow the danger still reached her first. If you want more real cases that still leave families and investigators with haunting questions, follow for the next dark investigation.